Fantasy football universe, welcome to another episode of the Devy Planet. And we got a very special guest here with us today. We'll give him a proper intro right after our intro, but today it's Devy Q&A.
Welcome to the Devy Planet. The Devy Planet. The Devy Planet.
Whew. Devy Planet, how's it going? I'm S.C. Romero here with my fantastic co-host Spencer at Buckwild Sports. Spencer, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, man. It's a little too hot up here for my liking, but managed to stay in the AC all day. It hasn't given out so far, so can't complain too much.
No, I heard that, man. 'Tis the season where the heat, hopefully, y'all are all staying kind of cool where y'all can. But we have a very special guest here today, and that is going to be Matt Montgomery. How you doing today, sir?
I am good, SC. It is always great to get on a pod with you talking any sort of ball. Spencer, this is the first time that we've been on one together. Can't wait to hear some of the knowledge. I've heard great things about you. I am ready to get educated about Devy.
Beautiful, beautiful. And for those viewing in, this is a very special Devy episode because this is Devy Q&A. And Matt, correct me if I am wrong, but you are rather newer to that. Are you in any Devy leagues quite yet, or this is?
Nah, man, you are ripping the Band-Aid off right now.
Okay.
This is kind of like, this is my intro. I want to get into one this year. I have a lot of friends that do it and say a lot of things about it.
Love it, man. Well, so to give you an idea of what's going to happen is Matt, being the newer person to want to get into Devy, he brought up some questions for me and Spencer to answer. So he's going to be laying out the questions. We're going to be giving the answers. So this is really like a Devy 101 for all the newcomers to Devy and understanding really what it's about and why people like myself and Spencer really enjoy it and why we're kind of, hoping it gets it to that next level. This is a deeper dive than Dynasty. For the ones that are like fans of redraft, hey, that's awesome. Then there's people that are like, man, I want a little more. So they play Dynasty. Awesome. There's people that say, hey, I want a little more. So they play Devy. Amazing. And then there's people that say, I want more. So they play C2C. Awesome. Then there's even people that want more and they play C2C IDP. That's where me and Spencer kind of play. And, but it's a lot of fun. But anyways, we're going to dive into some Devy questions and some Devy answers here. Matt, what is your first question for us?
Let's keep it simple. What is Devy fantasy football?
What is Devy fantasy football? Spencer, I'll let you start off with your answer on this.
So there's, I'll give you the most simple answer that I think I can come up with here, and it's like your regular Dynasty League, except instead of just a straight rookie draft, you have a draft where you try to get those guys before your rookie draft. So as soon as they enter college, you have a limited roster, usually between, I think I've seen 5 and 10 guys is the norm, depending on how deep your Dynasty roster is. You do that draft, you hold them all throughout their college career, and then they go right to your roster rather than you doing a rookie draft for them. And anyone who wasn't on a roster, that's what your rookie draft comes in. So it's basically like a preemptive rookie draft. Rather than getting points for what they do in college, you're just hoping that you hit on these guys coming out.
So correct me if I'm wrong. That sounds like you're almost drafting a taxi squad.
Exactly.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so just to piggyback off Spencer, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's just an extensive taxi. So for those that don't even know what taxi means, in Dynasty Leagues, your taxi is basically your more times than not, it's rookies or maybe 2 years out, the players in the league for 2 years that really haven't broken out or really aren't doing much on your league. So you just want them on your team, but they're not actively putting points towards your league. They're not on your starting roster. So it's a taxi. So that's what Devy is, except it's not rookies, it's college football players. Now, there are deeper Devy leagues where you can go into some high school athletes as well. Gets a little trickier, right? Because you're looking at a lot of things can happen during that time. A lot of things can happen in college football. Right now in Devy leagues and in supplemental drafts, you're looking at getting freshmen and drafting these freshmen, but a lot of things can happen between now and when they go pro, if they even go there. There's injuries happen. Maybe there's a change of school or it just doesn't work out as their talent level, so they're not even pro level or even in that draft class at that point. So there's a lot of things that can go wrong, but it's still great to have that idea of, oh man, I already have Jeremiah Smith on my roster here, right? So there's different concepts on it, but Devy is basically an extensive taxi where you're drafting college football players.
So
Is
just
that
to get off that, just one. It's never-ending rookie fever. That's how I
yeah?
would. If you want it in a sentence.
Well, there is plenty of people out there that suffer from never-ending rookie fever, man.
If you want to know why like people like me and Spencer are training for 2027 first and 2028 first and stuff like that, it's because we have our Devy rosters and we're like, oh, these guys are coming out. We need to make sure we grab them here too, right? So
Yeah.
for sure. So what's question 2 here, Matt?
All right. Well, that was an easy one. Sticking with the easy theme here. Why should more people play Devy?
Okay. Why should more people play Devy? Because man, if you're a true football fan, this is really what it's all about, right? It gets you more involved in the game because you're watching college football. In my opinion, college football is very exciting because the fan bases are different, because the player styles are different, and you really have to understand certain mechanics of the game, right? When we're drafting these wide receivers or quarterbacks, we're looking at what they're doing at a college field and saying, hey, can this translate to the NFL? So in my opinion, it kind of gives us a head start in our dynasty leagues or even in our redraft league, because when these rookies come in, we already have an idea of, hey, we've been watching these guys for 2-3 years now. We know what they're about in their production. It's not a one and done type of production where they just had a great senior season. No, we saw what they did their junior season, sophomore season, freshman season. So it really gives you more insight. Now, I will say it's not for everybody because it is a lot more research, I guess you can say, in it. It definitely
Mhm.
be more involved to watching it. You have to watch the film and the college leagues and things like that. But for those that really want to embrace the football, fantasy football experience, I think Devy is a great stepping stone before you get into a C2C. And we'll talk about C2C a little later, but that's my thought why you should play more Devy. Spencer?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think kind of building off what SC just said, and I think he's spot on. First of all, like it really helps you dive in, but I also think there's a certain sort of excitement that comes with it when you're watching guys in college breaking out, having a great season, and that's a guy that you selected. Like you almost it's that finding that fourth round breakout before they're even a fourth round breakout. You know,
Right.
like obviously it didn't work out, but I think that my favorite Devy pick I ever made was Jalen Hyatt the year before he broke out, because every
Okay.
single week he was putting up a 200-yard game. I was just like, hey, I might be losing in my dynasty league this week, but you see what Jalen Hyatt did?
Oh, yeah.
um,
For sure.
so like I think it gives you you almost have an element where you'll always have something to be excited about. You're not just, if you're not doing great, you're not just sort of waiting for your draft pick to come through. You always have something to play for. There's always guys you can be trading for, not just picks. So I think it enhances your overall experience if you're, especially like if you're rebuilding, and if you're in a win later, you also don't have to just deal out your picks until you have nothing. You can keep recycling your Devy players. So I think
Right.
it adds a little element of gamesmanship that almost elevates the trading market once you kind of get comfortable making mistakes.
Right.
Well, the way you
Yeah.
guys are describing this to me, it almost sounds like the football version of a yard sale, right? You don't really know what you're walking into, right? There's all
100%.
kinds of stuff. It's almost overwhelming at times, depending on some sort of rummage sale that you're seeing. But every now and then, you find that mint condition, whatever trinket that
Yeah.
is worth millions that pays off in the long run.
Well, one of mine, speaking of that, I have a Devy league where I have Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, Shadir Sanders, and
Ooh,
I had drafted Quinshawn when he was a freshman. So he
ooh,
just stood on my roster. So I mean you get those kind, but then there's also ones where you have, maybe Branson Robinson out of Georgia. He's a transfer now, but that was one of my big guys. He was like my 101, and he just didn't
ooh.
pan out in Georgia, and now he's not even possibly a prospect at this point, right? So you win some, you lose some, but that's part of Devy, and just enjoying that ride there. So for sure.
I might have traded Jameer Gibbs for Branson Robinson in the league.
Oh, don't tell me that. Don't
Yeah,
tell me that.
it hurts,
Okay.
man.
Okay. Well, then I got another question. Those first two, pretty easy questions. I feel like, I've got the noobs involved now, like myself.
Yeah.
Now we're going to go into a little bit of the, it's going to be person biased. All right.
Yeah.
Who are the 5 best players right now in Devy and why?
Oh, Spencer, do you
I
want to start
know.
this one, or you want me to start this one?
I can start it off because one
Go
of
ahead.
the top guy is pretty easy.
For
It's
sure.
Jeremiah Smith.
For sure.
Yeah.
Second one,
Yeah. I think that's a unanimous.
Yeah,
We've said it in every mock draft I do with people. It's like that's unanimous 101. Ohio State wide receiver. He has it all. I mean, you look at prospects like Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. This guy had it as a true freshman, and he's showcased it as a freshman. So undoubtedly the 101. I agree.
yeah. And then two, I think Arch Manning probably is number two,
Ooh.
assuming you're in a super flex Devy.
Okay.
Just because if you're thinking about, like I'm going to break it down just a little bit, but you have a very talented player, obviously, in Arch, but he hasn't played that much. But he's fast. He's got a good arm. But the name value in Devy is never going away. So you can trade him for an absolute haul. So on talent alone, I think that he's up there for sure. But I think on trade value, it almost boosts him into that tier close to Jeremiah Smith because everybody wants Arch Manning, even though is he better than Lenora Sellers? I don't know, maybe, but we'll see this year.
I think consensus wise, people might gravitate towards Arch. For me, it would probably be DJ Lagway out of Florida.
There we go. Give me some dissension.
Yeah, so that's why I have him above. He's my QB1 in Devy. I just love everything I see on him. He's what people want Anthony Richardson to be. He's going to go out there and win some games for them in Florida this year. He has great upside and dual threat ability. He is absolutely going to be a stud. He has the arm. He has the IQ of the game. He knows how to slow it down, and he's in the SEC. Arches as well. DJ Lagway is going to be a stud. So for me, that'll be the number two player in Devy right now. Who's your three, Spencer?
It's the guy you just said. It's DJ Lagway. For all the reasons you said. I mean, he's got a cannon. He's big, fast. He looked good last year. He's a little further out. I tend to gravitate towards guys that are closer, and I've gone for three guys in 2027. Yeah. But it's because these are really high end players, superstars that are going to make a difference.
For sure. My number three would probably be Cam Coleman out of Auburn. A reason why I say him, he's a wide receiver out of Auburn. He just seems like a physical specimen, a true X out there for you that can do dominant things. His quarterback play was a little bit shaky last year, but he still looked great, had a good season. And in my opinion, when you're looking at Devy, the wide receivers are the safer bet. A lot of times, the wide receivers pan out a lot more than any other position. Where the other positions, your quarterback, running back, tight end, a lot of times those fluctuate and they drop because of what they're doing. But your wide receivers, if they show out that freshman year, sophomore year, you can almost lock them in to be that top tier talent. So I would go Cam Coleman at number three there for me. Who's your fourth?
I'm going to jump in here real quick on the wide receiver point because so from an outside perspective here, I feel like colleges, they have a little bit more roster. And I feel like they can keep more of those type of players on their team. So even if they do have a bad season or a bad 6-game stretch, they're not really in jeopardy of just altogether leaving the program or transferring or even being cut. I feel like when you can hold on to more people like that, especially at a position like wide receiver that is so dynamic, that is so important at the next level, that players in that position group, and maybe even running back, and I'm sure we'll get to a lot more of those type of questions here later. I feel like just because of the roster space, am I ignorant for saying that? I feel like there's just more of a chance for those guys to shine.
I would agree there's more of a chance for them to sign, but it definitely comes down. You do see some of the top prospects still get transferred out. Evan Stewart, for example, is a big one where he didn't go out there and do much at A&M, transferred over to Oregon, but his value kind of got shaky because he didn't have that breakout exposure at A&M, and even at Oregon, it still wasn't phenomenal, so to say, in what we thought he could be. Granted, he's injured now, so we still got to wait another year because he may not be playing this whole season. So, yes, there is more opportunity there, but I think it's just based on the level that they're not necessarily getting hit as much as a running back is, so that wear and tear is not as crazy. The quarterbacks are the position that take control of the team, right? If anything goes wrong with the team, it's the quarterback's fault. You don't really blame the wide receivers. So just on that alone, a wide receiver could be on a team that doesn't necessarily have a winning record, but still be a top prospect, where a quarterback does have a winning record, they drop on the draft board. So that's where I think it kind of makes them a little bit more safer as far as their capital.
What about you, Spence?
No, I mean, I think based off of kind of what he's saying, something else is that college coaches have a bad tendency to force players to, like running backs specifically, to play out of scheme, that like it just doesn't work for their play style and it ruins them.
Trying to
you saw
mold
this
them to that player they want them to be.
Exactly. Like, they'll have a guy who, just to bring up a name we already brought, like a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs running up the middle 15 times a game, and he's getting nicked up. He's, his efficiency's going down every year, and he's not learning to do what makes him great. And college coaches, for some reason, I think even less so than NFL coaches, because we'll get frustrated with this at the NFL level too. College coaches, more than anything, they'll find a guy who does what they want to do, even if he's a quarter of the player that he is, and all of a sudden that really hurts a running back's development. Wide receivers don't tend to have that problem. I mean, sometimes they won't be, the Luther Burden problem will happen where they just won't be asked to do much. But it still really didn't hurt Luther Burden's stock, right? Like he went from probably a first round pick to a second round pick. For a running back, that's okay. Congratulations. Here is a job application for a Walmart. So, that's sort of, I think, the main difference is everybody thinks they can mold a wide receiver to do something, but if a running back isn't showing out, they're gone. They're done.
Right.
Cool. Player 4. Sorry to get you guys off on that tangent. I was curious about that. So we're on player 4.
Yeah, I see you're taking over player 4 here because this is where I start to lose the plot.
Yeah, no, player 4. I mean, again, just to stay safe, you gotta go with Ryan Williams out of Alabama. I think that's the wide receiver where, comes to being the Devontae Smith. He's a slim reaper out there. He's someone that could play in your slot, can play outside in the X. He's fast. He's quick. Reliable wide receiver. We're really going to see what he's about this year. Last year, as much as Jalen Monroe wasn't the star-studded prospect, Jalen Monroe had an arm. This year, the quarterback in play for Alabama is questionable. We don't know if it's going to be a Ty Simpson, an Austin Mack, maybe a freshman in Keelan Russell. We're not 100% sure. So it's really going to be, is this shaky quarterback play going to affect what Ryan Williams is? But based off last season, I think right now he is the number 4 Devy pick.
All right, so I'm going to be a little different. I'm going to go with Jordan Tyson here.
Okay.
He's wide receiver at Arizona State University. He went off a tear at the end of the year last year with Sam Leavitt. Big part with him, Scadabo, and Leavitt was like the guys down the stretch for that team, kind of pushing the pack into maybe they could win a national championship. He's incredibly good wide receiver. He does everything very well. The one knock is injuries, but I think he's kind of he's got one ACL, which he came back from really strong, obviously, and then he had a collarbone injury down the stretch last year that he's already back from. So that's sort of like a freak one. I'm not really worried about, if he gets hurt this year, I'm going to be like, all right, do we have a Christian Watson? Like maybe they're not all connected, but there's always something. But right now, I mean, I feel like he could be the next it guy, top 10 pick in the NFL draft, and he'll become an alpha. I mean, I'm higher on him than I think a lot of people. A lot of people really like him, but to me, he's number 4 just because he'll be there next year.
But that's why we're doing this, man. We're here to educate. We are here to learn, and you are giving us these deep cuts. See, that's what I need. I would never have picked an Arizona State wide receiver in the top 3 or 4 of this. So that's great knowledge. And then really quick, SC, anytime you can throw a Slim Reaper reference in there, love it. Love it.
Now, to go off of Jordan Tyson, I mean, arguably he's the wide receiver 1 of the 2026 class. Now, when you say that, it doesn't look as deep as what 2027 class can look like, but it is something to monitor because, as he said, possibly top 10. It's a little higher than what I would think, but I mean, it is possible because if he is the wide receiver 1 or ends up being that wide receiver 1, definitely can happen. We just saw Tech go top 10, right? So definitely can happen there.
What about you, man?
For 5 here, my 5, man, I'm gonna lean Garrett Nussmeier. I think right now, I do enjoy what Garrett Nussmeier does at LSU. I think a lot of people dropped him in their rankings possibly because of last year. It was still good, but this year he got an upgrade in wide receivers. This year they're getting another back that can complement Caden Durham in there. They have a great tight end in Trey'Dez Green. It's really gonna play to Nuss's strengths. I think this is a big year for him to elevate, potentially be one of the top quarterbacks in this next year's class. Arch Manning may stay. He could declare, but you also have like Kate Klubnik out of Clemson. I think Nussmeier is going to be one that takes the lead by storm, or the nation by storm, I should say, and really be a top prospect that we're talking about. So I would say he's the number 5 right now.
Yeah.
Nice. Spencer, what about you?
Yeah, as a 24-year-old quarterback should. He should be able to take it.
Yeah.
Fair.
No, I mean, honestly, that was a fact. I was like, I'm pretty sure, he was his first year starter last year, and then I looked at his age, and I'm like, holy old man, where was he? This guy going on a mission trip? He's BYU. No, I think 5 for me would be Ryan Williams, but to throw like the quarter, I guess, to get spiked, I'll go to 6 just because we've already talked about it, and I would go Cade Klubnik at kind of the next quarterback for me.
Yeah.
Kind of for all the same reasons. He was great last year. I thought he was, I thought he was better than Nussmeier, and he's a little younger, got a little, similar traits. So, I think Klubnik for me has that edge. I'm a world-class Nussmeier hater, though, is what's happening. So
I do love Klubnik. I love being especially I've done a show in the past where we talk about the Clemson wide receiver room, or the core wide receivers in TJ Moore, Bryant Wesco, and Antonio Williams. In my opinion, they arguably had the best core of wide receivers in the nation, and a lot of that has to do with the efficiency in Cade Klubnik as well. So I like that idea of him being 6.
Well, as much as we like talking about players, we have to keep our stat nerds involved and engaged in this. All right. We all know we all love the best ball bros. We all love the Devy bros, but we got to get some analytics guys in here. So for my 4th question, what statistics matter the most based on traditional Devy scoring?
So for this question, it's a great question. However, in Devy scoring, your players don't get points. So they don't. It's not a scoring there. So again, it's like an extensive taxi here.
Okay.
For this, you're thinking when you brought this question, it's more of a C2C vibe, a college or a campus to Canton. So campus to Canton is you have 2 leagues basically. You have your professional, your NFL roster, and you have your college roster. You're both of them put up points. Now you can adjust your points how you do it, but they both put up points. But when I saw this, I was thinking about more of film and what I'm looking for in these players to think about prospects. And so, like wide receivers, I mean, really just the whole shebang, if you will. I want to see what they're doing in their routes, how efficient they are. Their drops, a lot of players have drops, but if you're watching that, is it the quarterback's fault or the wide receiver's fault? Like, how are they winning in their matchups? The running backs, their pad level, how are they running through the tackles? Are they getting small? Are they being elusive? The quarterbacks, it comes down to the IQ. What are you doing? Are you being composed in the pocket when the pressure's coming, right? When you're playing against a Georgia or Alabama defense that has monsters on the edge, are you getting scared and panicking and throwing the ball away? Or are you standing confident in the pocket and delivering those throws? Not every quarterback does that. Not every running back runs with their pad levels down. Some run very vertical and just say, hey, I'm going to go straight through you. That's great. But you also have to think, a lot of times we see college football players and think this is a great college football player, and that's exactly what they are, a great college football player, not an NFL prospect. And there's this time and times again where we see many of players do that. Johnny Manziel, Vince Young, Matt Leinart, all these prospects that were top 10 potential prospects, and yet they didn't do it in the NFL. So you have to pay attention. Are you a good prospect? Are you understanding the fundamentals of the game? Or are you just taking advantage of the college football and the competition necessary you're playing? Because in the NFL, everyone's great. I mean, you could put a third string in there; they're gonna go out there and be great compared to a third string, player at Northwestern or whatever it may be that you just smoked, right? So, in my opinion, that's where it would come in. But I do point out, Devy doesn't have scoring. Now, you could, I guess, if you want to implement small, kind of scoring, small rosters, but it's more C2C, campus to Canton, that you're thinking of for scoring.
Spencer, that was a good answer from SC there. Yeah. Good luck beating that one.
No, so I'll address the C2C point. So because he's spot on, there is you don't get points from these guys. It's truly like a taxi investment. You're trying to beat to the punch on your rookie drafts. So what I'll say is on the campus to Canton side, it's a lot more kind of difficult because you got to balance, because a lot of small school guys will score insane points. Right. I just pulled up for the sake of the point, like our top scorers in SC and our IDP C2C league, who the top scorers were.
Easily.
The number 1 player in the league last year was John Mateer, who's he transferred up to Oklahoma this year. He's people like him for the NFL, but maybe.
We'll Ooh, spicy.
Yeah, but number 3 was a guy by the name of Tyler Huff, who was with the Jacksonville State Gamecocks.
Oh yeah, we're getting some Jacksonville State game talk on
Yep.
Devy. Let's go.
Yeah, so that's your number 3 quarterback in college fantasy football last year, and I think I rostered him. He's since been dropped because he's going off and doing selling used cars now. But he was like, that's the thing, is you got to balance. Okay, this guy might help me win the college side, but I'm gonna have to drop him off my roster as soon as he finishes his college career. He's not helping me on the NFL side. Versus a guy like Drew Aller, who really low scoring because he doesn't do that much. He throws for 200 yards a game, maybe 2 touchdowns. He doesn't offer much with his legs, but he's probably a first-round quarterback.
Right.
So you can't move him off your team. So that's sort of the campus to Canton. It's a lot more game theory. I mean, you really gotta. Am I winning college? Am I, winning at the NFL level? Am I trying to do both? And I'm like, I'm crazy for that.
Right.
So, there's that. But I think for Devy, though, like what I'm really looking for in order, and I've sort of started to break this down, and I'm going to try to incorporate in my ranks, is the number one thing I look for is what level of competition are they playing. You got your Power 4, but especially like your SEC and Big Ten. It's those are where the majority of your NFL prospects are coming from. So if you have a guy, Ashton Genty, it took a while for skepticism to get over it because, he was running for 2,000 yards, but he was running against a lot of future accountants. So, that's, but obviously then he broke records. But if he had been doing that at 40 less yards a game, he's still in the Heisman contention, but he's not an NFL prospect. Probably.
Is he doing that at Alabama though?
Yeah.
He's got offensive linemen around him, right?
Yeah,
that are going to be in the NFL, so why not?
To pull out that, I think it's important in Devy too, where you're not necessarily looking at production. I know that matters, but like as to Spencer's point when he brought up Mateer, like you may say that and be like, oh, he's a great quarterback, but then you look at he played at Washington State last year, so you're not really convinced. Oh, it's going to be that type of guy, right? Dwayne McBride was a big one for me at UAB. And I was like, oh, he's going to be great. But at the same time, it's like he was at UAB. He's not playing against necessary NFL talent. So you do have to keep that in mind because, yes, he led the nation in rushing. But, yeah, you don't look at the games he's playing. It's like, okay, compare that to someone that's playing against Alabama, Georgia, Florida, LSU, all those top-tier defenses. Is it similar or can he break it down? Like, where are these defenses ranked compared to these, right? So I do think it's important to not necessarily – of course, you want to look at the production, see what they're doing, but at the same time, don't take much into that because a lot of it's just watching the film on these guys.
Iron sharpens iron, and just like what you guys were talking about, watching game film, trying to learn from these things. My next question was actually based on this question, but I'm going to rephrase it a little bit now that I've learned a little bit from this one. What positions matter the most when you are looking at the film and trying to break down who could be a good Devy prospect?
What positions matter the most when we're breaking down the film? Go ahead, Spencer.
No, I think I'll put it this way: with quarterbacks, what I look for is a carrying trait. Do they have, an arm? Can they layer the ball well? And again, what level of competition are they playing against, and who are their weapons? I think, like when you're looking at a guy like Bo Nix, right? Bo Nix at Auburn versus Bo Nix at Oregon are two completely different players, and the reason why was because Bo Nix at Oregon learned how to get the ball out. Bo Nix at Auburn held it for over 3 seconds. He was running around. He was making boneheaded plays. So I think really like you just want to watch development over time, and a transfer isn't the worst thing. So I guess the special trait in the quarterback, what I'm really looking for, and growth, because stagnation is the ultimate enemy. In a wide receiver, individual performance. Can they separate? Are they winning against because if they can't separate against college defensive backs, let me tell you what NFL defensive backs are going to do to them.
Right.
And they're going to follow all the way to the bench. And then with running backs, it's odd. I like running backs are a little difficult because, you look at a guy, SC's all over a guy, Ahmad Harvey right now.
Yes, sir.
Who's playing against, terrible competition, but he's got, he was making guys miss. can he keep doing that at the next level? But he was also a great scheme fit. So
Mhm.
sort of separating the player from the scheme they're in. There was I think was it Ollie Gordon this year, who the year before ran for like 7 yards a carry, 2,000 yards, 20 something touchdowns. But what he was doing was he wasn't getting hit for the first 4 yards before he got past his line of scrimmage. This year he was getting hit 1 yard,
Right.
and he could not make it happen. So whereas a guy like Quinshon Junkins, Travion Henderson, they had a good line, but it wasn't a great line, and they were able to make stuff happen when the play broke down. So kind of looking at like the worst possible scenarios for the running backs, and then what do they do? That's I think it. And then tight ends, ignore them unless they're special.
Well, I'm glad you brought them up because when this question was brought up, that was my first thing. Is actually the tight ends, and reason why I say that is because we're not drafting tight ends. Chances are, if you're drafting a tight end, it's your late round, and like your guys are taking, you're like, okay, I'll take Kenyon Sadiq. Brock Bowers is the unicorn. People drafted Brock Bowers, but especially I know in one of our leagues you had like Tyler Warren and Loveland. But other than that, those were like one of the only tight ends that really weren't taken. You're not drafting them because the production is not going to come, right? So a lot of times your rookie drafts are filled with tight ends. But why are they the most the position that matters the most is because you really need to watch what they're doing because they're not going to put up the stats at college. Again, they're not Brock Bowers. Your tight ends typically put up 250 to maybe 400, 500 yards in college in the season, maybe 6-7 touchdowns. So why are you watching them? Are they on the field to block? Because when it gets to the NFL, they need to be able to block and get to that, break it out for their running backs or even for their quarterbacks to have an extra blocker on the field. So watching these tight ends matter because you're drafting your rookies already, right? So come the rookie draft, you already have your guys that are moving up. But in the rookie draft, you still have tight ends that are available. So now you need to figure out, okay, what are these guys doing and were they efficient in college in the sense of they're going to see the field in the NFL because they're a good blocker, they're a good route runner, they know what they're doing at that next level as well. So I would say them.
Well, great answers. I feel educated. So now let's go to one that I'm kind of having second thoughts about now that you've explained a little bit more, Devy, but I'm curious to hear what each opinion is. Does the offensive philosophy in college football determine floors and ceilings for Devy players and Devy teams?
Yes, because you have some teams that run pro style offenses, meaning they run those type of offenses that we see in the NFL. You have some teams that are completely crazy as well. Does it determine the floor and the ceilings? Yes and no, because again, you understand. Okay, they know how to work in these kind of systems, so you can say, okay, this is a good floor for them. The ceiling, I don't know if I would necessarily say it determines their ceiling because the ceiling is based on that talent. Like, what can they do at that next level, right? But the floor, it's like, all right, I'm seeing you in an NFL style offense. You're doing pretty good. You know what you're doing. You have a solid floor there. But the ceiling, I think, goes beyond that because we want to see what else you're doing there. We'll be on.
Spencer, what about you, man?
Yeah, I mean, I think SC's kind of spot on with the ceiling point. Is these players can really break out of their molds. I look at like Terry McLaurin really wasn't asked to do much at Ohio State besides run fast and far, but he had all these, like he had these kind of raw tools that the Commanders saw and they were able to mold him into the receiver he is today. But I do think that it can hurt your floor a lot if you're not asked to do. Like in college, how did Missouri win last year? By giving the ball to Luther Burden 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage because Brady Cook couldn't get it more than that,
Right. For sure.
So, but that was how they won. And, they're there to win games. They're not there to help Luther Burden become an NFL wide receiver. So
do you think players, this is a question for both of you. Yeah. Do you think players that play in those gadgety style offenses have a higher or lower probability of succeeding in the NFL?
I think lower, just because they're coming in and they have a lot more to learn. So you saw like this is the Jalen Hyatt problem where Tennessee did a lot that opened up for him, and he was really good at doing that one thing, really, really good at it. But he wasn't asked to learn how to do enough at the next level, and when he got to the NFL, he wasn't able to. And I don't think it was because he wasn't capable of it. I think it was because the curve was too steep, and by the time he started to pick up some things, guys had passed him. So I
Yeah.
don't know if SC feels differently, but I think that's
No,
sort of where I see the issues.
no, that's fair. And I'll bring up an IDP for you, Matt. Harold Perkins out of LSU. He's a outside linebacker there from arguably one of the top linebackers. But when you watch the games last year, they tried to form plays around him and make sure they had specific defensive schemes to make sure he succeeded. But in return, LSU just fell through it a lot of times because it was like
Yeah.
this play is designed for him to go out there and get the quarterback or to step back in zone and kind of affected everyone else. When Harold Perkins was out, though, they said, okay, we're going to open up. Everyone's here now. And you come to find out, you go back and look at it, there's another linebacker that my guy Tom Harvey talked about with Weeks that looked better than him, than Harold Perkins. And that's simply because they weren't packaged schemes around him. They weren't packaged plays around him. It was like, hey, just go out there and do your thing. So a lot of times when you have them do certain things like gadget type of players as well, you're making them think, hey, you can do it all. And maybe you can, again, at a college level, but in the NFL, everyone is fast. Your offensive lineman that weigh 300 pounds will chase you down. You know what I mean? So you're not going to be as gadgety as you think you might be. And you may say, oh, I can go out there and do what Debo does. Debo is great at what he does because he's been in the NFL and he understands how to win those type of things. These rookies coming in, granted, they may have the speed, but their speed isn't going to be what a defensive back at the NFL speed is, right? So they're learning those different things and trying to understand, okay, is this really who I am, or do I need to learn the fundamentals? I mean, Spencer about Jay and Hyatt, well, I forgot he was Dallas's coach, said, you're a one-trick pony. And he's like, we'll see. Come to find out, Hyatt really is like a one-trick pony. He hasn't developed any kind of route running, anything like that, and that's affected him. But he wasn't asked to do that at Tennessee. He was asked to beat the guys deep, and that's it, because he had that speed. He can't really do that at this next level. He has to learn how to win in certain situations as well.
And this is all love, Jalen Hyatt, if you're watching. All right, this is no shade at all. You are
What am
a
I-
textbook
listen,
example.
I still have him
Huge
on my
Giants
league. I haven't
fan.
dropped him.
Let's go.
This
I'm
is my
still
guy.
waiting.
I mean, he's been. Yeah, we're gonna say we've said his name too many times on this
Yeah.
pod already. He's gonna start popping in the comments. He's like,
Hey.
"I'll show you all." And I'm a Giants fan. Show me.
If you're listening, I'm waiting for the breakout, baby. Let's
Yeah,
get it.
I'm hoping.
We
don't know.
diamond hands and Devy.
Yeah,
Diamond
for
hands.
sure. For sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's probably the last of my like technical football geek type questions. These are going to be more based on your guys' opinion of Devy and your experiences. So I'm going to start with a real softball question. Why do you love Devy?
That's it. Go ahead. I'll let you take that one first.
Sure. So I think the reason that I love Devy is it's just helped me. Like, it's not even helped me. I love diving into prospects, and this has given me a reason to start diving in a little sooner. And really a reason to follow certain players that I sometimes I'll pick a guy just because I'm like, I'm curious what this narrative is going to be this season. And it gives me a little skin in the game to follow that. So I think I love that, you're really trying to get ahead of the curve. You're really, it's really, can you scout? It adds another layer to that where I think, if you're just doing a traditional dynasty, you're, for the most part, the ADP gets set to you by the NFL draft. Here, you really have to beat the NFL because you don't have the NFL draft. You have mock draft database, but I love Denzel Boston. They have him as like wide receiver 2 next year. It's not always reliable this time of year, because that's absurd for me. So this is sort of, I think you really have to put your head down and you really have to call your shots and think about why you're calling your shots. And to me, that's what I love about it. You've got to be right. You got to call your shots. So
hey, you're not wrong. You're just late, right?
Exactly.
Just early.
just early.
SC, why do you love Devy?
Man, I mean, it's really when I started playing Dynasty. I mean, even redraft, right? You're going in, you look at the rookie draft, and you're like, okay, who are the top rookies? Who can I take kind of here? But at that time, you're looking post draft, so I wasn't really diving into it until they got drafted. Then I'm like, okay, who are these prospects here? But then it was like, okay, I'm missing out on some prospects and things of that nature. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's next? What can I do here? And then I found out about Devy, and I was like, wait, you're telling me I can have some of these players on my team before our rookie draft, before our redraft, and say, hey, here we go, this is it, right? And think of it kind of like a keeper because you're keeping all your Devy roster there going on forward. So I was super stoked about it, and I'm already diving into these guys now, but it's making me go even deeper now because as you're going in Devy supplemental, I'm already looking at a lot of college guys, but I'm also paying attention to these high school athletes and kind of following them. And it really is just a love for the game to say, hey, man, I hope these guys do well and they go to that next level and achieve their dreams. But you're kind of watching that growth. And it's kind of just an idea of, hey, I had you as a freshman on my team. I saw you blossom into a star-studded top 10 wide receiver. Exactly. It's like your little baby, right? Like you're
Yeah,
watching it grow. And it's like, it's so great to see it, right? That they do it. At the same time, if they don't, you own up to it. It's like, all right, man, you didn't pan out, but it is what it is, right? So, but really, just a deeper dive, man. I enjoy watching film, and you could go watch the film on NFL players and stuff like that. But when you're watching the college football tape, the high school tape, you're really seeing the guys develop. I mean, he said Terry McLaurin earlier developed into wide receiver at the Commanders. In this sense, though, you're seeing these guys fully understand the game and grow into the game that they want to play at a professional level as well. So that's why I love that.
I want to add like one more thing is I also really like winning my dynasty leagues.
Yeah.
And with Devy, I don't have to sacrifice the top prospects because I'm winning.
Right.
And I think to me that's a big one is I can have Jeremiah Smith on my team before he gets to the NFL and still win. Like that's the thing to me. Like that's the ultimate. Can you imagine? Like the golden ticket is you don't have to try to snooker someone for the 101 because they're going to be a bad team and you want that player. You can have that player and go undefeated, win the championship. So it adds another element where you're not sacrificing any of that.
I will say, as much as I love C2C and IDP, Devy takes a little bit stress off of that because C2C, you're still thinking about, okay, who's going to help me with my college side of the league as well. So it's like extra work in a sense. For Devy, it's like, all right, I got these players. I have to see what they're doing, but I'm not worried about if they're necessarily produced or not because I'm not worried about the score at this point. It's just I had these guys and we'll see what they end up doing midway through the season, halfway, or stuff like that. So I would slightly lean a little bit love it. But don't get me wrong, my C2C IDP that we're in, favorite league because again we have IDP college players. It's absolutely crazy. So
you guys are giving me serious imposter syndrome. I mean, we are talking about Jacksonville State, Jalen Hyatt, and watching high school tape to make sure that we know these guys are going to produce. So let me tell you, I am completely outmatched here, which is why my next question, because you guys are starting to give me the itch a little bit here. My next question is, what is the moment in Devy that brought you back? Like we all try something once. And, there's always – it's like when you go play golf and you play terrible for 17 holes, but that 18th hole you smack a drive and it goes perfectly in the middle and it brings you back that next time around. So what is that for you in Devy?
Oh, man, really just –
This was supposed to be easy, guys. Yeah. What is this? Come on now. I'm the noob here.
I can tell you. So, I think it is that moment when you find the diamond in the rough. Like you start, I think you'll have a demoralizing Devy year where your roster was, who the heck? Let's see, who was that wide receiver that Tampa Bay went undrafted?
From Maryland. Rakeem
Jarrett. Rakeem Jarrett. Where you have Rakeem Jarrett on your roster, and you're like, oh, this guy's going to be a round 2 wide receiver.
I was stoked, bro.
Oh, you're so hyped up, and then just collapses. And
did I trade you Zay Flowers for him? I feel like I traded
that was
Flowers. Dude,
and more. There was more on top of that.
Oh no!
I was like, I'm getting my guys, man. It did not happen.
No, it was. Good. It was like Zay Flowers and Dak Prescott for Rakeem Jarrett and Tanner McKee.
Yeah, it was Tanner McKee too. There you go.
It was a generational trade.
It's generational, all right. I'll remember it.
Yeah. Get your guys, man. That one hurt.
Dude, that is
but it's
tough.
Okay because the next year, I think we made a trade in reverse where I traded you something insane for Brendan Rice.
Yeah. Okay, I got a receiver back, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You know what's great about this? You guys have both screwed each other over, just as friends would do, and you're laughing about it. because
Yeah.
that's what this whole thing is about, man.
Yeah.
It's about the community. It's about, like you said, SC, you got to go get your guys.
Right.
Now, looking back in hindsight, your guys may not be that guy,
Yeah.
but they are, at the time, it's like you're holding it. I go, this is it. I've got him. It's right here. In 2 years, I'm going to be the smartest man alive. And then just up in smoke, man.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
They're still on my taxis, so hopefully they break out. But we'll
Hey, you never know, man. You never know. All right.
No.
So then
So-
let's get back to this year and not look at the past and think about all of our failures. Let's look at this year, and both of you are about to hit home runs on this question. Who are you planting your flag on this year to make the biggest leap in Devy? Whether it's ADP, whether it's just, hey, this guy's going to be a star in the NFL, whatever you think that question may be, who's going to make that big leap?
Man, I'll say this, and only because I'm high on him right now. I think you have to say Ahmad Hardy out of Missouri. Transfer from University of Louisiana Monroe. Just absolutely studded prospect. He's from a G5 prospect going into the SEC. If he goes out there and does what he did in the not even G5, I mean, if he goes out there and does what he was doing at this next level in the SEC, a lot of people are high on Mekhi Hughes, who transferred from Tulane to Oregon. Rightfully so. Mekhi Hughes has put up 2 seasons, over 1,300 yards, phenomenal prospect, great running back, going to fit the Oregon scheme. If Ahmad Hardy does the same thing, we're going to be looking at him like a Quinshawn Judkins. And right now, he's going undrafted in some leagues, unless you're in deeper ones. So he's possibly available on your waivers. But I think that's who I'll plant my flag on right now. The more I watch him, the more I love his tape, and I'm just excited to see what he does at Missouri. Shout out my guy JT Orange, because I know he's a huge Mizzo fan. They absolutely have a stud there, and I'm stoked to see what he does.
All right, Spencer. Moment of truth.
So I think I'm going to go with Bryson Washington. He's a running back out of Baylor, and
Okay.
see, I'm planting the flag on him because I already took him in the first round of the draft.
Yes, there we go. Skin in the game, baby. There it is.
So my flag is fully planted. It's already in the ground.
Let's go.
So, he's an absolute.
Don't do that
he's
at
a
Ohio. It's
brilliant-
banned.
Yeah. It worked out all right for Baker.
Yes, it did.
No, so he's he's a running back out of Baylor. He's probably 5'10", 205. He's a bowling ball though. He bounces off guys. People are gonna love him, but he's also a great route runner and has good silky hands. So he's the type of running back that he was over 1,000 yards last year, but it's Baylor, so nobody was keeping track. But it's the Big Ten.
Yeah.
I mean, it's it's not light competition. So I think he's gonna pop up radars this year as he puts up another good year. This running back class is wide open after the Jeremiah Love, Nick Singleton tier, and honestly, I think it's even wide open with them. So,
There's
he
a
could
lot
really-
of NIL money down south there.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Oh yeah, so
Yes,
he's a name to keep an eye on. I think he's going to rise up. He's a little polarizing because you either love him or hate him, but I love him.
Those are the
So I
best
think
guys
he's
to
gonna
have,
jump
man.
up.
Oh, yeah.
Those are the best guys to have. There is no indecisiveness, and you're going to hear 0 people when you're right and everyone when you're wrong, and it is just a beautiful thing. All right,
Yeah.
I'm kind of a nerd. I'm an industry market. I love to see how things even flow in the world. What trends up, what trends down. So my last question for you guys, do you believe that the Devy market is viable for growth like traditional fantasy football markets? So do you believe that it can skyrocket to the levels, maybe not to the levels of what fantasy football is currently, but can you see it ascending from kind of this, and I'm going to say niche, I'm not here to offend, but more of like a niche style of developmental football into like what the conglomerate that has all the podcasts and talk shows of everything that fantasy football currently has traditionally?
I say yes, and not to disrespect you, Matt, because I know you're IDP. I'm an IDP guy too, but I think it has an opportunity for further growth than IDP, simply because you're not having to learn necessarily more. You are obviously because you're watching college tape as well, but you're still sticking to the offense. I mean, granted, you can play Devy IDP. I'm not saying you can't. You can definitely do that. I'm in some of those as well. But with IDP, you're watching a whole other side of the field now, right? So you understand, okay, well, who's getting the tackles, who's getting the turnovers, things of that nature. With Devy, you're still looking at the offensive styles, so you're still watching that. So, and you don't have to worry about scoring. So, to me, when it comes to IDP, C2C, or even Devy, I think Devy has the biggest opportunity because, again, it's just an extensive taxi. And maybe it's something where it's not as in depth to going to the high school. Maybe you're just starting a Devy League where you're only taking seniors or you're only taking juniors. You can have those kind of type of leagues where it's strictly on those rules where you're taking, hey, our Devy League is only about the next class. You can only take people eligible for the next class. They don't have to declare, but they're eligible for the next class. And I think that has opportunity for growth. Grant, it is a deeper dive. So again, not for everybody, but with the way Dynasty's taken, I mean, 20 years ago it was redraft. I know some people were playing Dynasty 20 years ago, but now Dynasty's becoming the norm. I
Mhm.
think in 5 or 6 years we're going to see Devy kind of become that norm as well because again it's just an
Ooh.
extensive for that and saying, hey, we no longer want to wait till these rookies come out. We want to see what we have here and thus big, especially with the NIL and things changing and we're seeing a lot more movement in college football. Before it was kind of players stand still with their teams, but now we're seeing movement. Now we're seeing top players go to certain schools, and now this increases their market heavily. So we're seeing a lot more publicity, I feel like, when it comes to the college football landscape in general.
So I want to dive a little bit deeper on that point before Spencer goes in here. So do you believe you're kind of the firm belief that this eventually will become an extension of Dynasty Fantasy Football where it almost blends naturally?
100%.
Is that kind of where you see this going?
Yeah, 100%. Just again, because I feel it's it's not much different than what we're doing right now in Dynasty outside of, yeah, we're drafting college players. But even then, you the average person that watches tape, I guess, could just go put on a highlight tape and say, "Hey, I like this guy." Right? You don't have to necessarily
Mhm.
dive into the full fundamentals of watching their all 22, anything like that. Granted, that's what we do, right? Because we're trying to break down everything about these players. But your average person can say, "Hey, I like that guy from Ohio State. What number is he for? Okay, I'm gonna go get
Mhm.
him." Right? Stuff of
Mhm.
that. The guy out of Florida, number 2, I like him as a quarterback. So you're just kind of seeing that. So it's not, you don't have to get as extensive. You can still go out there and take your guys, which is sometimes that's what we do in rookie drafts, anyways, right? It's like, this is my favorite player in the rookies. I'm gonna draft him if he drops to me. So you can do that in Devy as well.
Spencer, bring us home, baby. What do you
Yeah.
think?
No, I mean, I also think it's going to grow, and I think the reason why is because of the marketability of college players now with NIL.
Mm-hmm.
So I think more people are going to be, you know, it's more visible as people
Mhm.
want these names. I mean, a top 10 mentioned player in all of football, NFL, college, high school last year was Ashton Genty and Travis Hunter. They cracked up top above legit NFL players who are having great seasons
Mhm.
Yep.
in a way that I think kind of tells you that we're ready for the visibility of the college player and especially the college individual.
Mhm.
So, kind of a deconstruction almost back to your kind of question about, like how is this going to grow is I think people want to be a part of those names. They want to have them on their rosters. So I think even
Yeah.
that small, like a 5-person Devy is going
Mhm.
to become the
Mhm.
norm, as SC said. And more than anything, the number one reason why it's going to grow is people love to be right. And
Right.
there is nowhere more that you
Yeah,
can be right than
for
when you
sure.
hit on a Devy guy.
100%.
So do you believe that college football as a whole is going to become more of like a star-driven league? I know a lot of people use
Yeah.
that term for the NBA, but I love that point with the NIL where it's just like you're going to start seeing these people in endorsements and national
Mhm.
advertisements and their faces everywhere now because it's more and more becoming more of the norm. It's here whether you like it or not. So do you see because college football will empower the player even more that this type of league just say I got to get him in something. I've got to be able to watch more and learn more about this guy.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, we even saw that last year, like with Madden and CFB,
Mhm.
was
Yeah.
like people started to play like, oh, like we're gonna do recruiting on our college side and then transfer them to our Madden teams and who do our Madden franchises that way. And I'm like, why are you doing Devy in a video
Right.
game? I mean,
Yeah.
I can assure
so
you I'm no rook in either one of those games. So if either one of you want the
Yeah.
smoke, just let me know.
There you go. There you go.
yeah,
Just to piggyback further off that, though, I mean, the NIL is definitely changing the game. There's definitely some kinks in the armor there, but it's definitely going to adapt and, as he said, make people a little bit more publicly known, even at the smaller schools. Because if you have people at smaller schools still getting some money or some hype, you're going to start paying attention to them. So it's definitely going to advance that kind of system of just knowing about those players and what they can do to your teams and really make it just fun to watch or just to have them to say, as you said, hey, I want to be right and have this guy. And just as we love to be right, being wrong is okay too, but then hopefully you cash out when you can. When they have the big games, you can still cash out. The beauty about it is in Devy, you can trade your Devy players for pro prospects. So if a Devy player is looking great in college, and then you're like, man, they're looking like a really good college player, but I don't know if they're truly that Devy prospect. You can go trade them for someone else. You know, I traded Drake May for Joe Burrow. Drake May looks great, but Joe Burrow still to me is a top 5 quarterback. Where Drake may be few years out than that. Right there, you go, number one.
Number one, baby.
And I know Spencer brought up 5. You know, when you're playing Devy, don't think you have to start with a 7-player Devy roster. I mean, start with 1 player just to get the idea of what it works. And then after that 1 season, maybe go to 2 players, then 3, and progress to what you feel is right for the league. But you don't have there isn't really set rules to it. You don't have to have a 5-man Devy roster, a 7-man Devy roster. I'm in one where we have a 25-man Devy roster. It's crazy. But it's like, you know, you have somewhere start with something comfortable to you to say, hey, I just want to, you know, put my toes in the water kind of deal. Start with 1, develop into it. If you like it, awesome. If not, so be it. But at least you're getting the idea of what it's like and having those players on your team.
Well, you kind of reminded me of a point. My brother and I go back and forth on this a lot. We talk about a lot about the NIL and the college football game specifically. And I got my first ever college football Galaxy Brain take here. So I believe that in the college football, the new game, I believe the NIL money that they're going to give some of these schools is going to be based on how often they're played. One of the most popular ways to play this game is to rebuild a bad franchise. I think that we are going to see some small schools get a huge influx of money that they were not expecting. And I'm not sure what the actual allocation of these funds will be. So it could be pennies on the dollar. But I think we're going to see some of these small schools get more NIL, which will incentivize some of these bigger players to go to small schools because they'll be able to package this with an NIL deal from the school and almost like a pay-to-play scenario. And I think that we could, over the next 5 to 10 years, see a shift in college football from obviously the SEC and the Big Ten. They're going to rule the sport. But I do think that we're going to see some of these smaller schools. I'll use Jacksonville State just because I think it was hilarious. We talked about it. But like a school like Jacksonville State, 1 star in the game, probably not a lot of fans, but hey, I'm going to rebuild that team and I'm going to make them good. So in the game, maybe later on they get a 3-4 star prospect and it builds that program up, and maybe potentially even more Jacksonville State talk on Devy Pods later on down the line.
For sure. No, I mean, I feel I don't know the numbers ahead of me, but I feel like more people played CFB 25 than they were playing Madden 25 when it came out. Just because 100%. We remember what it was when it first came out, when we were playing college football with Reggie Bush on the cover, right? It was a whole different concept of what Madden was. So if that's the case, the market is there. People love college football. I think those people just don't understand fully on, wait, I can play this in my fantasy football now too. I think that's where Devy kind of comes in. Because again, C2C is a whole other animal. Whole different thing. We can have a whole different topic on C2C, but Devy is again putting your toes in the water, feeling how you like it and seeing it. But we know the fan base is there for college football. Not everyone likes the NFL, but I guarantee you, the college football stadiums, doesn't matter where you go. If you're in the college football stadium, it is packed, it is loud, it is crazy, it is a great time. So we know the market is there because we know there's college football fans. And now, if anything, the NFL needs to figure out how can we make it a little bit more like I don't want to say like a G League or anything like that, but how can we incorporate to have it more in fans, taking it if it's, Houston Texans, okay, well, U of H, how can we partner up and do certain things to make sure guys are getting here, whatever it may be. So I think there's a lot of growth to come for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like a well-educated Devy man now. Because of you two wonderful people allowing me to bring the intelligence level of this pod down just a bit. But I feel a little bit better now. I don't have as much FOMO. I don't have as much imposter syndrome. You guys have made me feel like a fan. So thank you.
I appreciate you jumping on, man. I love the questions. They were great.
And for the record, for people watching this, me and SC were going to do a Devy pod, and he sent me a crazy amount of notes. To like, hey, here's what I'd like to talk about. Here's the players. Here's what we should do, blah, blah, blah. And I'm telling you, it is the most overwhelming thing for somebody who had never looked at it. And I was like, okay, maybe I could talk a little college football. You know what? What's a little different? SC was like, I went to him, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. This seems a lot. And he was like, well, how about we do an intro to Devy because we're trying to get more people involved in it. We're trying to educate more people. So this is 100% 10 questions that I genuinely wanted to know about this. There is no script behind this. There was no show sheet. It is genuinely just 2 experts in the industry here letting me know how to be a better Devy player and understanding what that means. So thank you guys.
For sure, man. We'll get the
Of
Devy
course not.
startup going. We do have a question here. Our guy Mase, shout out Mase, man. If y'all need IDP as well, I mentioned Matt Mase, another great IDP expert. But he asked, "What's up, gentlemen? Question: How do you go about scouting or selecting players for Devy to NFL leagues? I'm in one league with SC, and I don't know what I'm doing." Spencer, I'll let you answer this because I can't give him my
Sure.
secrets, man.
Yeah. No, so I think the first thing that I look for with strict Devy, again, we're not looking are they going to produce, how much are they going to produce? Strict Devy, I'm looking for guys in good conferences, again, on good programs. I don't want all the Mississippi State guys and say I have a whole team
Yeah.
of SEC prospects.
Right.
So I think you're looking for first, like, you don't want to just scout the helmet, but scouting the helmet is a good important part to start off, and then go through those teams. And I think looking for guys who produced early is big. You talk about a lot of that in draft season, about what year did they break out. So if you're looking for you're looking for a guy who produced early, and then you're looking for a guy who's coming out sooner, because that decreases your volatility, because that if they're getting talked about getting drafted next year, that means that they've done something to warrant that conversation.
Sure.
Whereas, and I mean, not that we want this, at all, but if Jeremiah Smith tears his patellar tendon, all of a
you better
sudden,
knock on wood.
I know. I listen.
Like, what are you
my
doing
fingers were
here?
crossed. My toes were crossed. It's not happening. Don't come for me.
Let's freak my dogs out.
Yeah. All of a sudden he's a different prospect, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So like, which can happen to a 2026 guy, but he doesn't have 2 years to do it.
Right.
So, I think first I look for that where are they, what are they doing, and then how long have they been doing it for, and are they close to come to the NFL? I think that honestly, like, if you just go with those 3 rules, you're going to find a lot of success in Devy, because you can overcomplicate. You can draft a Bryson Washington over a big time Alabama player, because you're like, no, I got this guy. I know he's going to be great.
Yeah.
So you can galaxy brain yourself out of just picking, you know what, this guy is at Alabama and he's done pretty good. So,
Sure.
And more often than not, that works. So I think that's sort of what I look for, is at a base level that, and then I'll go deeper and start to look at advanced stuff and how much of an athlete they are and yada yada. But you don't even need to fully go that deep.
I will say this question kind of made me think about it, because I know it's kind of similar to what you asked earlier, Matt, too. For beginners in Devy, start off by looking at NFL mock drafts of the future, right? And what players are going. Look at a 3-round mock draft. You can find the 7 rounds, do that. Or look at consensus values, right? And just start with that without even looking at the tape, and seeing what the community looks at as a whole, and then go dive into that tape. Because, again, Devy, you can trade. I mean, there are some leagues where it's like they don't allow trading, maybe something like that. But, again, when those rules are open, you can't make those trades. So figure out, like, okay, let me look at what the 2026 NFL mock draft has as a first 3 rounds. Tankathon's a great website to use for that, and just to see where prospects are at, and then say, okay, out of these prospects in my Devy draft, which ones am I able to get, right? You can look at the schools. When you're starting, pick your guys, pick your favorite. Don't do a deep dive. A lot of times you do a deep dive right away and you burn yourself out. Have fun with it. Look at some prospects, say, hey, I like these guys from this school, I like from this school, but also understand after that, then say, okay, let's look at third tape that I have on my roster and say, do I see some NFL level talent? And of course, they're younger kids. You may not see it out the gate, but if you see that glimpse of hope, hey, keep them on your roster, man. Again, they don't put up points. It's just something to have fun with. And as you grow, you can say, all right, you didn't pan out that first year, the year I had you, I'll trade you or drop you and go somewhere else as well.
Or if they're Kyle Pitts, you can just hold on to him forever, because eventually he'll get good, right?
Yeah, eventually he'll break out.
He's only 24.
I'm so over it already, dude. I'm over it. Over it.
Breakout's
the same
coming.
age as Garrett Nussmeier.
Yes.
This guy. We gotta end this. This guy's already talking mess about Garrett. We gotta have a full Garrett Nussmeier show. No, Matt, I appreciate you coming on and asking us this question. I think this is a very great episode to have a Devy Q&A, because there are a lot of people in your shoes that really have those kind of questions saying, hey, I want to play it, but I'm scared to. I don't know if I understand college football, or there's so many college football teams. I don't know if I could dive into it. It doesn't have to be that extensive. You don't need to do a deep dive. Just try it out. Have a one-man roster, Devy. And guess what? maybe that means the first round next year is a bunch of guys you would probably take in the second round of your rookie drafts, right? Start off
Right.
small and just have fun with it. So Matt, I appreciate you coming out, me and Spencer. Do you want to let the people know where they can find you and everything?
Yes, please follow me on this lovely hellscape of an app X at Matt Monty FF. I just crossed over 1,500 followers, so I'm really trying to hit that 2,000 mark now.
There you go.
Other than that, you guys make me feel like I can learn even more about football. I had no idea the actual deep dive that you have to do for this format. To me, on the outside, it's like, all right, it's college fantasy football, right? I can't commit Saturday and Sunday to my life.
Right.
This doesn't seem like it seems difficult. Don't get me wrong, complex, but it's more of it's just going to further the knowledge of what wins in football, whether it's pro football or college football. And
Sure.
it's kind of like Spencer said this a lot, it's going to be about the players that put in the effort to learn that specific skill that is going to get them over the top. And it's a lot like what you said, SC, iron sharpens iron. You got to you got to kind of mix both of those styles in here to truly dive deep on the film and actually figure out what you're looking for. So thank you so much for having me on here, Spencer. It was wonderful to meet you. Very blessed to have you two as friends. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you coming on, man. It was great to meet you too.
Yeah,
I got a lot of IDP to learn, so I heard you're one of the guys to go.
Oh, you were talking to two IDP freaks here, dude.
He's in my IDP. He's in my IDP leagues too, man. I can't get him all my secrets here. Now, for Ariel watching, we appreciate y'all coming in. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the Fantasy Football Universe. We have shows. Our guys, Mike and Rich, doing Dynasty Dogs. Shout out to Dogs. My guy Jeremy, overseas, he's doing the adjusted ranks. Tons of SFB mock drafts coming up for him, so make sure you're tuned into that. We have our roundtable on Saturdays, and as the season gets closer, we're gonna start doing our start sits every Sunday morning. So make sure you're staying tuned for that. Don't forget us on the Devy Planet answering all your college football questions. But for everyone at the FFU, I'm SC. That's Matt. That's Spencer. Until next time, peace.
FFU. FFU.